Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
I'll be Tara. Thanks for listening to the Blazers Edge podcast.
You guys, wait. I have this idea, and I've been thinking about it for a while. And you might think it's really strange, but I'm gonna give it anyway, because I think if you think about it for a while, you'll be like, yeah, that makes some sense. So I'm thinking that Paul George should go to the Blazers. How am I doing?
That was really good.
That was pretty good.
That's
really good. Yeah,
that was really, really good. I feel
you can do your impression of me.
I already does. This is hi. This is the Blazers Edge podcast. I'm here today with Dan Meringue. Danny, I think that's your cadence. I think
that was good.
It was a good cadence for sure.
Yeah, I can't like hit your pitch though. I've been recording this and I really want it to be the intro. So I'll introduce the BOD Pod part. I'm here today. We're recording with BOD Pod with Tara Bone Biggs, aka Team Mom, one of the co-hosts of Blazers Edge, which you may or may not also be listening to, and then Dan Meringue, Dan, other co-host of Blazers Edge. Hello. And last, James Holas. So, all right, Dan or Tara, one of you guys can introduce Blazers Edge.
See the way he just kind of swept me under the rug? He just threw me in, and that James Holas guy. Yeah, no, you guys go ahead. You guys.
Well, maybe James could introduce Blazers Edge podcast. We could hear his objective introduction of it.
All right, go ahead, guys. Someone else take the wheel.
Hey, what's up, Blazer fans? Welcome to the Blazers Edge podcast. I'm Tara, here with Danny Meringue, and we've got some special guests today. Chris Axmann from Almighty Baller and James Holas. Some people know him as Snotty Dripham. I prefer to call him by his full name.
Why, thank you.
James Holas, he's also from Almighty Ballers. He's actually going to have a new podcast, Dunk Tales, on our wonderful network. So make sure you check it out.
What's it going to be about?
Just nonsense. Me and Joe Borelli just talking basketball, and I think Joe just wants to be my friend, so he wanted me to do a show with him. I don't like him that much, but I just agreed anyway. So we'll do that once a week.
You're joking, right? That was mean.
Chris, I don't like you, and I do a show with you all the time. So I mean, this is what it is.
James, I think you're just very bitter because Damian Lillard was out tonight, and
I love Dame. Dame is one of my favorite players in the NBA, and yes, I was kind of sad I didn't get to see him do his thing. I did get to see his cleavage though. I saw the outfit. I don't know what that was about.
That qualifies for Shaqtin' a fool, right? Like he dribbled it off his foot a couple days ago, and that's making Shaqtin' a fool. But like that outfit tonight, and Shabazz Napier, the Blazers caught on a clip of him. He just turns around, and just gives him the look like, man, you were.
That was an amazing.
Even if you were in Miami, even if you're in Miami, I can't get. I mean, this is why Dame's Dame. Like to get that level where you're feeling yourself enough to like wear that on, like even in your own house, let alone go out and let's see.
Is Dame walked up like he knew. He walked up like, watch what he's going to say. And Shabazz look at his chest, and there was a second one. Shabazz like, what the? And they're like, come on, bro. And Dame's all alive because even Dame knows. He knew that he was a little bit out there tonight. That was a pretty funny moment like that.
That outfit was honestly like a heat check. Pulling up from deep, like it's like wow. That took some balls.
That was a 36-footer. Right, 36-footer of wardrobe choices. I like
that.
It was
like Game 6 against the Rockets. That was the Game 6.
That would have made Westbrook say, "Okay, bro, that's a little too much. Calm down."
I was wondering if he was like challenging some kind of uniform rule because you know how guys have been wearing the sleeves and getting trouble for wearing the new sleeves, and Damian was like, "Hold my beer, I got one for y'all to comment on."
That's funny.
But pretty much now, since the Blazers did pull out the win, he can never wear a shirt under his vest
no more
again.
undershirts ever on the sideline.
No, because apparently they're superfluous.
So are the Blazers better than the Lakers when Dame was sitting? So they won, right? But are they actually a better basketball team than the Lakers if Dame is not in the game?
I will say this.
On that team, no.
Yeah, so I would be the first to admit I have been high on Lonzo Ball. He's been a lot better lately. Tonight he wasn't very good. But Kyle Kuzma and the rest of those guys, they're really starting to coalesce as a team. And I think the future's a little better than I thought. For the Blazers, I love what Shabazz Napier's been doing. In his first start, he looked really good. And Nurkic was drunk in the first half. I didn't catch most of the second half, but I know that Nurkic was really out of sorts. What's going on with him?
That's
a large conversation.
Right yeah, let's hit on a few things here because let's hit on a few things here. Shabazz balling out. If you took Shabazz's stat line tonight,
I have a question about Shabazz.
5 and 3. That's a Dame. That's like Dame light stat line. If you just threw that on the wall and asked somebody on who's a Blazers fan, whose stat line is this from any given night, oh, that's Dame. So
Tara,
Shabazz doing that tonight.
I have a question. I need an answer. When was the last time you guys had a player coming off the bench who is as good as Shabazz Napier appears that he probably might be?
Portland gets one of these. They get these spurts from one of these guys,
and
4 or 5 times a year.
Sort of assuming that the lineups are stable because all year we're not ever really been quite sure who is coming off of the bench. Okay, so Shabazz has been coming off the bench playing really well, so
in 18 minutes that I guess you're right. Terry Stotts tools with the lineups a lot, but I just mean in definitively bench minutes, right? He's playing 18 minutes a game. But 45% from 3, 8 points. I think so. He's a steal 1.2 steals, and again, that's in 18 minutes. That's pretty darn good.
He's been phenomenal over the last month. He's actually been Portland's third leading scorer. It's Dame CJ Shabazz.
Yeah, I feel it's been a long time since
absolutely
a bench
phenomenal.
guy's been that good for the Blazers. Your bench has been kind of weak.
If you want to throw a name out, it's probably Jamal Crawford. This is the last time the Blazers had somebody come off the bench who was multifaceted. People can look at CJ McCollum behind Wes Matthews, but he never really got real minutes until Wes went down.
Wait, hold on a minute. Jamal Crawford, I wouldn't exactly call him multifaceted. He was a scorer, but I
not
think
multifaceted at all.
That was pretty much all he did was score.
I'm talking
but Shabazz is coming
offense.
off a multifaceted offense. What? So a 16-foot jump shot and a 20-foot jump shot? Is that what you mean by multifaceted?
Yeah. How old was Crawford when he was on the Blazers?
140.
Oh, okay.
He was probably 31, 30.
And Shabazz's game, it's not that diverse. I just think it's the Blazers to me have been a little bit starved for depth recently, and it's just refreshing to see another primary ball handler on the team that's good.
So if you want to look at Shabazz over the last month, he's averaging 12 points on 51% from the floor, 41% from 3. You can't ask for more from that from your backup point guard.
Now, here's the thing. You said he's been the third highest scorer, the third best scorer over that time period too?
Yep.
So that's a problem. When your third guy is only averaging 12 a game, that's a real issue.
Yeah, you get 25 from Dame, 20 from CJ, then 12 from Napier, and 12 from Nurkic.
Wow, that's really disappointing from Nurkic.
Yeah, it is.
And Nurkic has only been playing and granted, there's some injury games in there from Nurkic that are pulling his numbers down a little bit, but that really doesn't explain most of the funk that he's really been in for long stretches of this season.
Do you think he's getting a little pouty I don't know. Things feel a lot weirder than they do. The vibe is a little off.
So before we go into whether or not how his emotional state is, I'd be really curious to know what you guys think from, looking outside of the Portland area, just at what he's actually doing on the court, because in my mind, like I've been waiting for him to, like, I know that he's a big guy and he creates gravity. Like, I understand like what gravity is, but aside from creating gravity, I don't know how effectively he is actually stopping people from getting to the rim and, protecting the rim.
No way.
What do you all think?
I think he's a significantly above average rim protector. I think I always felt that Plumlee before Nurkic came in was one of the worst rim protectors in the league, like definitely among starters. And Nurkic, I think there's like a real effect. You can see it in Joel Embiid. If you look at Rudy Gobert, like he's just a monster. You just want guys who take up space, and you can call that length, you can call it size, you can call it like height, But like really, I feel like that's what. If you look at a lot of the really good defenses across the league, like Spurs are playing two bigs, from like Rodney Hood to Joe Ingles to Rudy Gobert to Derek Favors. Like that defensive lineup is huge. And like Nurkic is just huge. Like you have to take a different route. It'll take you a second or two longer to get to the basket. That is a valuable second or two to have,
Yeah, so I agree with that. He's a clogger. He's huge. He gets in the way. But I was expecting more from him this season. I yelled at Dan a lot last year about how that great run they went on with Nurk at the end of the season, and how we should expect more of that this year. And he hasn't been that guy. I think last year he was averaging was almost 15 and 9 in that 20-something game stretch after the trade.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't been that guy. He's been I know injuries play a part of it. But sometimes it's like he's almost like a detriment on the floor, it seems. Like today, they found him under the rim for a layup, and he just turned around and just like...
Yeah, his offense has been really bad.
So like I get it. Defensively, he helps, obviously. But if the guys around him aren't really disciplined and funneling the offensive players in the right way, it doesn't matter how big he is around the lane, because he doesn't have that much lateral quickness anyway. So he's not gonna. If you move him around too much, he's gonna struggle. It seems like.
I think he's quicker laterally than he gets credit for. So I think this is.
I'm not saying he's like a lumbering brute. He's not Mozgov, obviously, but I don't think he's still not like he's not Steven Adams out there. But Adams, I think, does a better job of containing and sliding his feet and getting around.
He's playing 30 minutes for the fourth best defense in the league, and the only difference is that Plumlee was switched out for Nurkic.
He's not Steven Adams. Steven Adams.
I think he's pretty good defensively.
Yeah, but that's fine. You could be wrong, Chris. I'm used to that.
What do you guys think? Well, what does your eye test say? Like Tara and Dan. Well, like, what do you guys think?
I'm leaning towards James here. That he doesn't move. Like, to me, Adams is one of the most undervalued, underappreciated bigs in the league. Like what he does and what he gives that Thunder team.
I'm not really trying to compare. Like James got Adam into the equation. No. I'm just saying like Nurkic. No, what is Nurkic?
I'm going to. I'm getting to that point here real quick. In that they have the same kind of effect, in essence, of being big and challenging shots, just that somebody like Adams has a larger range because of his mobility. It's a larger effective range, where he can get out and maybe hedge on pick and rolls above the free throw line, put pressure on shooters on a late switch and then recover. If Nurkic comes above the free throw line, he's committing. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it, because he's not going to be able to recover in time. And that's not a shot at him. He's just 7 foot, 285 pounds. Like asking him to get back 15 feet in a step or two while trying to still, cover for somebody at the 3-point line, that's just not something that's in his bag. But within 15 feet of the rim, it's like shooting over a phone booth. It's not an easy thing to do. He's huge.
Right, yeah. Look, so I think if you really think about like the defensive principles that Terry Stotts has focused on really since his time as an assistant coach in Dallas, I feel like what they're basically trying to do is overcommit with CJ and Dame, and I think that happens a lot. Like they take themselves out of the play a fair amount, especially for like a team that isn't fast break offense oriented, but whatever. They definitely like get out on shooters, and sometimes that means that guys will get some penetration. And I feel like Nurkic is the only reason why there's a lot of mid-range shots on pull-ups and stuff instead of people going all the way to the basket, right? Oh yeah. Well,
Aminu's been phenomenal.
Here's what I mean. Aminu was around last year though, and the year before. Like the only difference really in this defensive lineup is that you're switching out Plumlee for Nurkic, and like I feel like Nurkic is sort of having that. There was like a 2011 paper that won at Sloan, the MIT Sloan, called the Dwight Howard effect. That was basically making the argument for like the best evidence of Dwight Howard's rim protection is that people don't want to even go to the rim at all, and I feel like that's what Nurkic is doing, and that's why they have the.
I'd agree with that to an extent.
Yeah, I think that's why they have the fourth lowest effective field goal percentage shot against them in the league. Like their defensive four factors are really, 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 really good. Like they statistically, anyways, pass the smell test, and I think it makes a little bit of sense when you think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you look at what,
oh, go ahead, guys.
No, I was just saying if you look at this is something that Tara and I have talked about a million times, and I think she'll get behind this as well. Is that where Portland excels, they're very good, and where they're bad, they're very bad. There's no in between with what they do night in and night out. Like you take a look at tonight, they win a game against the Lakers, was a final 95-92. That's an ugly game. The Lakers are a team that gets up and down the court and runs and wants to score. Granted, they're missing Ingram and Portland's missing Dame, but I mean, Portland has done a really good job of, since their offense has really been bad for the majority of the year, of uglying games up. I think that's kind of where I'm getting to. I mean, what do you think, Tara?
I'm sitting here wondering why Portland is so frequently being outscored by in points in the paint.
Because Nurkic is bad offensively, I think.
So do you think it's because of lack of offense and not because of lack of defense?
So I think what you're getting at there is that you don't like the only thing that defensively it seems like the Blazers are doing a poor job of that they've done basically since Terry Stotts has been head coach is they don't force any turnovers and they don't get out on the break. That's what you're saying, right?
I mean, that wasn't what I was saying. That's an interesting point, but that's not where I was going.
Oh, okay.
But you can go there. That's totally fine. No, I'm just sitting here looking at box scores and sitting here, thinking about sitting in the Moda Center while, we just keep looking at like Walt, getting outscored in the paint by Denver. I can't. It was like, what was
Denver scores 64 points in the paint.
Hey, so let me ask you guys this, kind of connecting back to what Chris said earlier. Do you think I've noticed a little bit too that Nurk runs really hot and cold? There's times when it's like he might as well not even be out there, and I guess I don't know if it's part of the injuries or whatever he's going through. But yeah, is some of it maybe that he's getting a little pouty? Maybe is that possible?
And that's the thing I think that a lot of us were discussing really in Blazers Twitter tonight, because Nurk played 16 minutes tonight. Zach Collins played 32.
Ew.
So, and Nurk at one point in time, I believe, was 2 of 11 from the field, something along those lines. I got to pull up his number. Yeah, so 2 of 11 is what he finished at. 2 of 11, 4 points in 16:54. And the vast majority of his look, I remember he got at least 2 mid-range jumpers, deep mid-range jumpers. He may have had 3, but the rest were shots really at the rim that he just kind of floated and flailed up there. He wasn't engaged. And again, he's coming back off of the ankle/leg injury, so perhaps, and on a back-to-back, so perhaps they were limiting his minutes. But if you're putting a gun in my head and making me pick one side or the other, I think they pulled him because he was just playing like crap. I think he wasn't effective on either side of the floor tonight, and they rolled the dice and said, hey, Collins hasn't been bad on that side of the floor, so let's see what we can get out of him, because we're not getting anything out of Nurkic.
Yeah, I think he's underrated defensively and like overrated offensively. I think he's like really I think to the same extent that you can put a lot of the defensive improvement on Nurkic, you can probably put a lot of the sliding offensively on him as well. Like he just can't make anything near the basket, and he has that same phone booth effect, right? Like, I mean, Dame and CJ, when they're trying to get to the basket, they either have to go around him or shoot over him in the same way. I mean, he's not contesting them, but like he's a big body and he's like in the way, you know what I mean? It clogs things up, not even from a spacing perspective, like spacing basketball wise, but spacing like he's literally just a huge man, you know?
Hey, you know what? I got to say this, Chris. As a guest, you're much more engaging than you are as a host. I'm so proud of you right now.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't know what you're saying. Why are you ripping on me? I'm just trying to and first of
I
all,
gave you a compliment. That was a compliment. You are actually I'm listening like, wow.
That was a James compliment.
Yeah, it was shrouded with actually. That's the thing, is sometimes when people are making compliments, when you say you're actually doing a really good job, when people say that to me all the time, my hair stands on end.
Yeah,
like, oh, so all the other times I was doing a terrible job, you're actually doing a really good job.
What I'm saying, Chris, is that when you're the host, I want to punch you in the mouth a lot. Today, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Or, maybe it's also because we told you at the beginning that since this is going to be on Blazer Edge, nobody's allowed to swear. And so this is just the genteel, part of you all coming out.
Yeah, James is not being genteel. He's being callous and hurting my feelings.
Wow.
Okay, so here's something we absolutely have to talk about, though. Speaking of hurt feelings, it's something that I'm talking to people on Twitter right now. And yes, I'm on Twitter as we record the podcast because it's actually kind of crazy.
Danny.
Yeah, it's happening. So
step away, and you have three people here who want to hear what you have to say. And we want your undivided attention right now.
Nope, Tara. The trolls are getting to me.
Danny says.
Yep. So there is a vocal minority of people who want to see Stotts gone in Portland. I've heard from quite a few people over the past 10 days or so that if things were to go sideways over the next 2 weeks, that things could get messy. And that is terrifying to me as a Blazers fan, because number one, I don't think you're going to find a better relationship or coach for Damian Lillard than Terry Stotts. Two, what that would mean for this franchise going forward, it puts so many things up in the air. So from the outside looking in, how do you evaluate Coach Stotts, and where do you guys place him as far as coaches in the NBA right now?
I'll go first with this one. I feel like a couple years ago, I would have been all in on the fire Stotts train. I wasn't a big believer in him when LaMarcus was there, but he's shown, sure, Dame is awesome and CJ has been awesome, so it's a players league, but he has allowed them to be who they are, and he's fashioned playoff teams around them every year. And they go through those giant swoons, and they go through those like long stretches where they seem like they can't win a game, but they still end up in the playoffs, and that's incredible. That means something. And the fact that everyone's so it seemed like a pretty harmonious locker room, other than your boy. Who's the power forward? Is it Harkless that's been kind of chirping a little bit about his minutes?
Ooh, he had a great game tonight, though. Holy moly!
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that didn't turn into anything, like they just handled it like, all right, well, he's chirping, and you didn't hear anybody, it didn't become a thing. So not just with the player relationship, but I mean, like you said, they went from one of the worst defenses maybe a couple years ago, like not a very good defensive team. Now they're one of the best defenses in the league. And once if they can get the offense going, it's going to be a team to kind of be maybe not reckoned with. I don't think they're a challenge to Golden State, but in a league where it's so hard to find a coach that's effective, some teams churn through coaches once every year and a half, 2 years, whatever. It seemed like it would be a pretty big mistake to fire Stotts, especially like you said, Dame is such a star to me. I love Dame. And if Dame's happy with them, I think you roll with them no matter what. So
yeah, that's pretty much to me the bottom line is that So I know Dan or Danny. I know you're sort of on the like team tank. You sort of want to see the Blazers blow it up, and I'm not sure I'm with you. And I think that if you fire Stotts, it's a step in the wrong direction, because really you're sort of screwing with Damian Lillard's conceptualization of his place in the Blazers franchise. I saw just the other day the Blazers tweeted out this like Christmas picture of like. It was him. He was up there, and I think
with Clyde, Sabonis,
right, exactly,
Walton,
yeah. And he was like, "Hey,
Brandon
I'm
Roy.
up there." Yep. Like, I think that legit. I've seen enough evidence to suggest that he like considers himself essentially a Blazer for life. I think
he's a Blazer lifer. I don't doubt that one
bit.
Like,
do you want to fire the coach that he's like publicly defended consistently on Instagram?
Oh, I'm pro Stotts. I am staunchly pro Stotts.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
I guess the reason I'm saying all of this is that I just think that like strategically, it's almost inconsequential at that point. Like he's the right guy because it's for the same reason that Fizdale. Like is a good coach. He's probably a better coach than Stotts, but he wasn't the right guy in Memphis if you want to have Marc Gasol, right? So
wait, Fizdale's a better coach than Stotts?
Well, okay, here's what I'm saying. All right, X's and O's, like clipboard wise, yeah, I think he might be. I can't really say that for sure.
I don't. Hey, you know what? I guess I haven't been a big Stotts guy, but they run some clever stuff, man. They run some really clever offense. I mean, they got to find a way to maybe diversify it a little bit, because right now it really is, the Dame and CJ show. And maybe it's a talent thing, obviously, because I don't like the way the roster's balanced out anyway.
Well, okay. I mean, I think Stotts is good. I just think Fizdale's probably maybe better. Maybe. I don't even know. The point is, I just think that's not the question in a way that it normally is, just because the relationship in the locker room is so solid. I think it's
so. Wait, let me ask the question a different way then. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no problems at all, 10 being Stotts is going to get fired next week. Where do you feel like the situation falls on that continuum?
I think that Neil O'Shea is in more danger than Stotts is.
Nah.
No, I think he is.
You go first, Chris.
Well,
elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is saying Paul Allen's a changed man, but it seems like a lot of the things that Neil O'Shea has been doing recently with the media and silencing people and blacklisting people and chasing people out, and then in terms of roster construction too, giving way too much money to certain people. I think really it seems to me from the outside looking in that the Blazers go as their roster goes, which is pretty typical. If it's a talented team, they do well. If critical guys get injured, they don't do well. If there's not a good bench, they struggle. And I think that a lot of that has to do with just the guys that they're rolling out there on a season by season basis. Again, I'm sort of saying when Plumlee was replaced by Nurkic, this team flipped on its head. All of a sudden the offense isn't elite like it used to be, and the defense isn't terrible anymore. It's good. It's basically if you give Stotts the pieces, he'll make it work. It's just that the roster's kind of a little bit shallow, and they're missing, I think, some critical guys, and their bench, Napier's a blessing, but at the same time they're giving a ton of money to Evan Turner, and what are you going to do?
James, how about you on a scale of 1 to 10?
So on a scale of Brad Stevens to Jeff Hornacek, maybe. Not even Hornacek, because Hornacek's not in trouble, I don't think. No, I mean he's fine. 1 to 10, as far as 10 being the worst, I don't know, what, 3 or 4? He shouldn't be in any kind of trouble. I mean, it is what it is. Like Chris was saying, this is the roster he's been handed. I think he's done probably about as well as reasonably could be expected. I mean, I have high hopes for this team this year, and they haven't really lived up to them so far. But we do know that this is a team that can rip off, 15 wins in 20 games, second half of the season, and once everybody's healthy and up and running. So, I don't think he should be any. I don't see a reason why. Last year, they made the playoffs, and now, I think people were kind of low on them. This year, I don't know what was really expected. You guys can tell me what was expected by the fan base, but I expected better. But there's reasons that they haven't been. Injuries, especially Nurk has been a little underwhelming.
I think Nurk's the reason. He could do better than this. Offensively, he's just not been good. And
for sure, that's it. I don't want to put it all on him, because there is something to the fact that, like we said with Oladipo maybe in OKC last year, you don't get in a good rhythm when you don't really see the ball. And the way CJ and Dame shoot the ball, which is as they should because they're awesome, it's hard to shoot on that third guy in there.
Man.
Yeah, he had 11 tonight in 16 minutes, and he made 2 of them.
Yeah,
he's getting
the ball.
He's getting fed.
Let me see if you guys can agree with me here. Maybe I'm wrong. There's a difference between a guy just coming in, getting a lot of shots up, which he did tonight, and it wasn't very effective because he didn't seem like getting any lift, and getting into an offensive rhythm over the course of a game where you're going to get a certain amount of shots and in your flow and in your zone, right? There's a difference.
Oh, yeah. He was on one the other night. He was 9 of 12 and had 20 points and 7 rebounds.
There you go. So he can have those nights, but he's not having them consistently.
Yeah, that's the thing is he's kind of being like I'm trying to think who was it, the Batum a couple years ago when Portland had him, where if he hit his first shot, you could be in for a good night. Like you would just have one of those nights. But if he doesn't get something rolling, it translates on to both sides of the floor. Like even though he's big and he takes up space, he, instead of sliding over 1 foot and making the correct play, he just reaches and draws a foul. And it's like, dude, come on. Or like tonight, he hit KCP under the rim in the restricted area. Instead of just flipping his hips, going up and dunking, he tries to go for some weird half-cocked off English reverse.
Yeah, that was weird. That's the move I thought.
Rim.
Yeah. Do you think the ankle is still? Think the ankle is still bothering him? You think it might be the ankle still?
That's the only thing that I can think of because, like.
But he was doing that at the beginning of the season too.
Look, don't you think he's just not offensively doing what he's supposed to do? I mean, he's having 3 turnovers a game, but in a Stotts system where Plumlee averaged like, I don't know, per 36, something like 100 million assists or something. Like they were running a lot of the offense through Plumlee in the same way that I think they're trying to do with Nurkic. And Nurkic often
catching on the roll like crazy.
I'm sorry?
Nurkic is catching on the roll like crazy. Like on cuts and rolls, they're getting him the ball. The problem is,
I just feel like when he's creating from the high post, he makes the wrong decision too much. Mm-hmm. He either shoots it or tries to take it like off the dribble or holds onto it too long and gets stolen. You know, like I think he's just not making the right decisions when the offense is supposed to run through him.
I agree with that to an extent, but the thing that I think that a lot of people are forgetting when it comes to Nurkic and as far as creating and playmaking, he actually did a fair amount of it last year when he first came over, and that was actually the thing that was surprising me the most. Not the scoring, not the rebound, not the defending, but the thing is that when he was facilitating as that roll man or off the cut or from the high post, he didn't have Maurice Harkless in one corner and Evan Turner in the other. It was CJ McCollum and Alan Crabbe.
Oh, that's a great point. That's a great
point. Those
are
massive. Listen, I've said that the Blazers are just fine without Crabbe. They are in a sense, but the fact that there are everyone behind him as far as a shooter goes was elevated a position without anybody there to replace him. That's a problem. That's where like Pat Connaughton's been great in that role. But the fact that you don't have another 40% 3-point shooter, and it's something that I've just beat to death. Maurice Harkless was shooting 21%. Evan Turner was shooting 19% from 3. You have two guys that are shooting sub 23% from 3, and the Blazers are the absolute worst in the NBA in points at the rim and in corner threes. So the two most high efficient positions on the floor, where your defense is plugging in, there's nobody there. That's a problem.
Yeah,
I want to kind of move on to a slightly different topic, but not too far off of this. I'm curious to what these guys. We talked a lot about Nurkic as a center and what he is able to do, defensively just by being big, and what he's struggling with doing offensively. What do you guys think about the alternatives that the Blazers have in the center position? Have you watched enough Blazer games this year to have thoughts on what else could be happening, or is it just Nurk's? It's all him. He has to put it together.
So, okay, I guess, are you talking about like the young guys? Like, I think Ed Davis
there's Ed Davis, there's Ed Davis, Collins, there's Myers, and I'm a big Ed Davis fan, and there's a phenomenon here in Portland, which I don't know if it's made it outside of the local region, called Shirt Off Ed. And Shirt Off Ed is like when Ed like just turns it on and goes up, takes it up a whole nother level. And in the last kind of the most recent swoon that we saw, I think one of you guys used that term before. That was awesome. When they lost 3 out of the 4 games, Ed was one of the only people who was playing with energy a lot of the times when other people were struggling. So we've seen a lot of Collins lately, and he is one of the young guys. He's one of the rookies. And we've seen a slight uptick in Ed minutes as well. So, what do you think about that?
So I think one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is that I thought when they went out and got Caleb Swanigan, he seemed kind of redundant. But to me, he was the only center option that has size, can shoot from the perimeter, and sort of play functionally as a wing, and at least feign to spread the floor. Now, like, he shot really poorly, but in Summer League, I think he was kind of impressive, like, got really sort of in the mix. And I think he's another big body. He's certainly not as big as Nurkic, but I think they should be investing a little bit more time in Caleb Swanigan. Zach Collins has been better, but, like, I mean, look, to be honest, I think that almost every other player, like, Zach Collins will probably be the worst player picked in the lottery because I think Josh Jackson will probably hit a shot a little bit more. And I don't know. Like, I just, like, I don't really get the whole Zach Collins thing. Ed Davis I really like. He's just not like a starter though. And again, like this, I think you look, and I'm not even going to talk about Myers Leonard. I don't want to step on any toes. Dan. Yeah, it seems to me like it's another situation where it's just like there's really what you want is like basically Nurkic except with some touch from outside, and like he isn't such he makes better decisions when he's trying to finish at the rim, but I think that's why they picked Zach Collins, but I don't think that he's going to be able to have the defensive impact that Nurkic has, and Caleb Swanigan's more mobile. They just need like a better guy, right? Am I wrong?
So let me ask you to piggyback off what Chris is saying though, but Collins wasn't brought in really for this year, right? Like they knew he was kind of a project, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's, well, I mean, the exact, yeah, that's exactly. So he was both a franchise cornerstone who could contribute immediately and was going to be valuable for the next 12 to 15 years, but he was also going to have trouble cracking the rotation. So you can kind of split that one however you want to.
Great pick.
Okay. So he has been playing a lot of minutes. Like we said earlier, he played 30 and Nurkic played 16. Collins has been coming in a lot. I've noticed a lot lately with Ed. And so it's almost like Collins is playing power. I don't know, Dan, would you say Collins is playing power forward?
Yeah, because they every time he gets matched up at the center, every other team just salivates. That's been the trend. When he's playing as a power forward, it's fine.
James, mute your microphone when you're not talking.
James, yeah, I think we're picking up James's blinker right now.
You guys heard my blinker.
Just mute your microphone when you're not talking. Okay, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
This adds color to the show.
Okay.
It's actually Tales from the Road from James Holas.
Right. So, Dan, what were you saying? I got distracted by the sounds of what I assume
by James's
was
blinker?
James watching Cloverfield, and it was like a scene in the subway or something like that.
So, yeah, Collins, the minutes he's getting, he's getting minutes as a power forward, which right now is the only big position he should be playing, in my opinion. When he gets caught up in a switch inside the paint, it's pretty much curtains. If you're 6'5" and 200 pounds, you're going to win the strength battle with him. He's just not physically there yet. Could he get there in the next couple of years? Sure, but right now it's not a thing. But when he is playing as the weak side shot blocker or the help defender or putting pressure out on the perimeter, because of his length and because of his movement and his ability to move, he's been a viable option there, because Davis is the power forward. While he moves better than some guys, he can't really cover stretches all that well. Or Collins, even if he doesn't necessarily have the foot speed to make up for it, he has enough length to make up for anything he doesn't have in that area where Davis just doesn't quite have enough. Yeah, his ability to help side defend has been more beneficial, more surprising than I thought it would be this early on. But beyond that, particularly on that side of the ball, it's still definitely much with a big sign up of work in progress.
Yeah.
Hey, James, I'll give you a chance to unmute because I have a question for you. I know that as somebody who's kept a careful eye on Boston for many years, you had some really strong opinions about Evan Turner when he came to Portland. I was wondering if you caught the news the other day about the garbage truck crashing into his swimming pool.
So basically his game came home to roost. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, James.
Come
on.
Oh, man.
Dude.
Oh, God. James, did you just try to assassinate Evan Turner? Like, did you just... I think he just died.
I'm sorry, man. I hope that he works out for you guys. I get it. He's on the team, and he does some good things as far as maybe spot defensively and rebounding, but dude, the 19% from three. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
I mean, let's pull up for this month. He's doing better. For the month of December, he's shooting 33% on 0.5 threes per game. So he's gotten to the point where he's just not even taking them.
Which is good, right? Because if you can't shoot, just don't even take them. I just don't understand.
I mean, it's literally that.
How is that your free agent target? How did that happen? You know what I'm saying? I get it, and people explain logic to me, but at the same time, he's Evan Turner. How did that happen?
Well, so I think that's the general manager's decision. So I don't know, but I always sort of thought that Alan Crabbe was kind of underrated, especially the impact he had as really the only pseudo wing, the only perimeter player who was really an elite shooter on this team. Like, I mean, look at what Kyle Korver does for the Cavs. Like, I think I can't imagine if they had someone like that. Like, if Kyle Korver was starting at the three, like their offense would be like so much better if they could have someone who could curl off of screens and reliably attract people away from CJ and from Dame and from Nurkic. Like, I think Dan made like a great point when he said, like, there's no corner shooters here. There's no one who is giving either of these guards and like the center that they're trying to run offense through. They don't have any breathing room. And like, that is bad. That hurts. Like, not only are they missing those shots, they're making it harder for their teammates to hit shots. And like, it feels bad, man. You know, like
defenders are a step closer on every single drive.
Yeah, 100%.
Than they were last year. That's the big problem. Like, as good and CJ's shooting right now is down on the season. And tonight he had another game where, like, I can't remember him having bad games really at all, other than maybe a handful in the past 2 years. This is the 7th or 8th time this season where he's been not just like, okay, he had an off night. He was 7 of 23. See, who's supposed to be one of the best shooters in the league. Like, it's just weird.
Dan, I remember you were kind of like, relieved they made the Alan Crabbe move, right? Because we know he was overpaid. Looking back now, do you feel any different now?
Not in the long term. In the short term, yeah, it's definitely impactful. It's no secret my stance on Alan Crabbe in the first place was don't pay him, don't pay him, don't pay him, don't pay him, don't pay him. I mean, I couldn't have been more adamant in that if I tried.
I like Alan Crabbe.
The fact, don't get me wrong, I like Alan Crabbe as a player. If you would have had him at Maurice Harkless's money, it's a totally different story. Totally different story. If you were going to say that if Brooklyn offers more than $14.5 million, we're gonna bite the bullet and say, see you later, Alan. It's up. Because a year later, it's exactly what they did, and then they took back dead money. Like, that's Alan contract's situation was so bad that nobody else in the league was willing to take it without sending back dead money. Like, that's crazy. 25-year-old who shoots 45% from three, who's supposed to be this guy that's so good or can do so many different things. Yet
look,
you had to take
it's a value proposition. Come on, like,
dead money.
I mean, like, let's not conflate the player with the contract. Like, yeah, he's not good value on like $20+ million a year, right? Like, I mean, but he was a very good quality player who the Blazers relied upon to spread the floor, and they don't have that anymore. And their offense is like sort of in the tank because of it. Like, look,
yeah, my thing was like once you paid them, you overpaid. Now you have them, and I think you just roll with it. I don't think. I get that,
they'd be in the repeater tax. That's the problem. Is next year they would be in the repeater
I think you
tax,
make that move,
and then they're screwed.
It's I guess my argument is like outside of the vacuum, it was a good trade and it remains a good trade. But like inside a vacuum, wait. All right. Without the context of like the luxury tax and the repeater tax and all of that, he was a really valuable player for the Blazers. But with that context, it was a good trade, right?
So his value to the Blazers, Dan, do you have available quickly? I'm going to ask my assistant Danny here to run the numbers between Connaughton and Crabbe. I mean, I know they're not exactly the same.
Their stats through
and compared
Connaughton's shooting 38% on the three.
Nice.
Giving you 6 points in 20 minutes. So let me go ahead and I'll just do this.
Why not put him into the starting lineup?
Action.
How does he do alongside Dame and CJ?
Actually, there's a really nice lineup of CJ, Napier, and Connaughton, along with Ed Davis and Aminu, which is my personal favorite. That's not the starters when we have starters. And yeah, Connaughton plays. Connaughton, you can trust. I mean, you can trust that Connaughton is going to get in there, and if he's not going to shoot, he's going to play defense. He's not going to make boneheaded moves.
He's the best cutter on this team, in which he showed again tonight.
Mm-hmm. Connaughton does a lot at a fraction of the price that they were paying for Alan Crabbe.
Yeah, so if we're looking at... Go ahead, James.
I was just saying, it makes me sad that like Dame and CJ are so awesome, and then we're saying names like Pat Connaughton and Ed Davis and Mo Harkless.
Look, Pat Connaughton's not bad. It's just he's not shooting.
None of them are bad. I'm just saying, like, they got to find a way to upgrade that roster around Dame and CJ.
Okay, you know what?
After Dame and CJ, the fall off is pretty good. And before we go too far, I want to give the numbers on Crabbe and Connaughton just for context's sake. So per 36, Connaughton's 11 points, Crabbe's at 15 points. Pecon's at 80% from the free throw line, Crabbe's at 83%. 2-point percentage, Connaughton's at 52, Crabbe's at 43. 3-point percentage, Connaughton's at 39%, Crabbe's at 37%. Overall field goal percentage, Connaughton's at 45, Crabbe's at 39. So, and Crabbe's making $17.5 million right now, while Connaughton's still on the final year of his rookie deal. So, I mean, that one hurts.
He's not playing with the starters. That's, I feel like, the problem. Like, you just need space for Nurkic to breathe, and you need CJ and Dame to get some help so that they're not having to do so much offensively. I just feel like you need Aminu, and I like the Blazers have known this for a while. Like, if you could just get the right guy alongside like Aminu, in theory, Nurkic, like good universe Nurkic, CJ and Dame, if you can get the right three there, like Paul George or
that's been the case for years. Yeah, that's why exactly I was screaming. Saying, right? Like as bad as Carmelo has been in OKC, if Carmelo is in Portland, they're not a threat to Golden State, but they're a top 4 team in the West probably. I know she hates Melo.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I'm not sure about that.
Get it? I just don't get it. I don't know why at this point. I could see like if we had like 26-year-old Melo, and don't you dare say Olympic Melo or Hoodie Melo, or I will hang up on you.
Olympics.
But 34 or however old Melo, I don't get it.
Okay, it's like Trevor Ariza.
To me, the bonus of this
Rudy
deal,
Gay.
Ariza. See, honestly, as much as Ariza's the better defender and better shooter, I would, and I know this is almost sacrilege, I would take Rudy Gay over Ariza in the Blazers universe solely because of Gay's ability to be more than a catch and shoot guy. Like Ariza, I know he can finish in transition. Power, right? Yeah, I think you could play Aminu at the 3-4 the same way you could do with Gay. I think you could do them. You can play them both pretty much the same way.
Right.
But having somebody else who could put the ball on the floor and attack a mismatch, play out in transition, can both be relied on as a shot creator and a shot taker.
Hit corner threes.
That's what Portland needs more than anything, is the fact that they need somebody else who has more than one. And we've said this a million times. They need somebody with more than one skill set.
OG Anunoby's been pretty good for Toronto. Have you noticed that?
Let's not bring up OG, please. Please.
Hey, imagine lineups of Donovan Mitchell and CJ McCollum.
Okay.
Jerk.
Dan's gonna get really upset, so I need to move us on to something else.
Can
But
you
it's
play
sort of
Caleb Swanigan
related.
or Zach Collins at the 3, maybe?
Hey, don't be surprised. They may start
Tara,
Collins.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not kidding. They may start Collins in the next week or two. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Tara, go
And
ahead.
you guys are going to have to fly out to Portland just to hold Dan if that happens. But anyway, going back to scale of 1 to 10. So last year, the Blazers made the trade for Nurkic at the trade deadline. How likely do you think it's going to be that the Blazers make a trade at the deadline? And like, how significant do you think the trade would be? Like, I would call last year's trade like a 5, and when they made it, like, not massive but not nothing, like kind of right there in the middle. So with the early trade deadline, how likely do you think it's going to be the Blazers will make a trade? And if they do, how big of a deal do you think it's going to be?
Nikola Mirotic.
Mirotic, that's not bad. So how would you guys feel? And I'm going to make this up, and I'm going to say it's a rumor, so I sound like I'm official. What if they traded Nurkic, the contract of Evan Turner, and other various flotsam and jetsam, and they brought in Dwight Howard?
Are you kidding me?
So basically the same deal that I proposed for Marc Gasol, but instead for Dwight.
Dude.
Hey, man, Dwight's been good this year, and I think it's shorter money.
He hasn't.
Oh, yes, he has. No, Dwight's been good this year. Let's not do this. Dwight's been good this year.
Yeah.
How old is Dwight?
Wrong.
32? 33? Are he and Gasol the same age?
I don't have enough time to explain why Dwight Howard is like a bad basketball player and an annoying person. I just don't want to talk about it. I'm like just going to sit this one out if you guys want to talk about Dwight Howard.
Well, no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just saying.
No. It's an interesting idea because it's the same kind of idea that I floated for the when I asked Blazers fans a couple weeks ago, what would it cost or how far are you willing to go to get off the Evan Turner contract, which was basically Evan Turner and Jusuf Nurkic for Marc Gasol. Now, I don't know if that trade makes any sense for Memphis, but it was more of a theory practice for how much do you value Nurkic versus the anchor that is Evan Turner's contract. And I think this is another way to measure that is if Gasol was a yes, is Dwight Howard a yes? I mean, Dwight's only got 1 year left after this year.
Yep.
Oh, God.
So from a salary cap space, and he's 32, and he's given what this year? He's
so
12 and 14. He's given like 12 and 14, right?
Hey, his last 10 games he's averaging 17 and 12.
Yeah, dude, his counting stats are fine.
Good God.
He's been
a net positive. He's still being a rim protector, averaging 1.5 blocks a game in 32 minutes.
Dude, his counting stats are fine. If you just watch the game, he's just not doing the things he's supposed. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, let's
no. Get into it a little bit. What is it about Dwight, this current iteration of Dwight? Because this Dwight, at least in my opinion, has just been let me play basketball Dwight.
Look, so the Hornets are sort of in a tailspin right now. They're thinking about trading Kemba. Things just are not looking super great. When you switch out Dwight Howard for Cody Zeller, that's essentially the difference between last year's Hornets offense, which was like reaching top 10 at some points. Like there were some freaky, advanced stats that indicated that Cody Zeller and Kemba at some points were the best pick and roll combo in the league. Every time that Dwight Howard sets a pick for Kemba Walker and dives to the rim, every single time he's slipping that screen. You're Dwight Howard, okay? And you're setting a screen for Kemba Walker. Just look, James, you were just talking about how great and underrated Steven Adams is.
Yes.
How can you say that and say that Dwight Howard's having a positive impact on his team?
Let me ask you the question. What do you think his net on off is this year?
Look, I'm saying that's not representative.
Answer the question.
Look, Kaminsky's his bench replacer, and Kaminsky's been one of the worst players in the league.
Answer the question.
Okay,
answer the question.
It's probably a 2, dude. I'm so upset. I don't care.
If look, argue with the numbers. All right, let me ask the rest of you guys this. What do you think his hold on, take a deep breath.
His on-off net? His on-off net
Dude,
probably like
have
7.
Have you seen Kaminsky? He's pathetic.
Go ahead. And what do you think? What do you think there, TC?
His on-off numbers.
Like 3.
He's plus 11.
I'm gonna start swearing. I'm gonna get really. I don't remember
Okay,
the last time I was
worried
angry.
about Chris.
Here's the thing, though. Like, we can move on from Dwight here in a little bit.
I'm so upset.
If you're able to move away from a bad contract, if you're Portland,
Okay,
if you're
I have another Evan Turner trade. Can I interrupt you so we stop talking about Dwight?
You're getting Dwight's production back.
Stop saying his name.
16 and 12 Dwight. No, I'm gonna keep going with it. 16 and 12 from Dwight. Just the raw counting stats alone.
Oh, the raw counting.
Look, hey, the Charlotte offense is 8 points better when he's on the floor, and their defense is 3 points better when he's on the floor.
Is Frank Kaminsky. Okay, all right, guys.
Hey, I'm just telling you what it is, bro. I'm just telling you what it is. You just said replacement Cody Zeller is supposed to be great. What are you telling me right now?
Like, Cody Zeller's injured, and like their offense sucks when he's okay. Look,
let's ask this a different way that maybe isn't so triggering.
What about a more aggressive move like CJ McCollum and Evan Turner for Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, and the Magic first round pick next year?
That's actually the exact trade that I brought up 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I wasn't sure how that fit into things, but then again, Orlando's been really good about giving players away that turn out really good. So
yeah, but they don't have. I keep saying they don't have the same guy anymore.
Yeah, it's a new GM. Yeah, that GM.
I know. Hammond's in there. Hammond's in there for Heineken, but
Mr. Olshey absolutely mined Orlando for whatever he could get, and now that guy's gone. So yeah, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to shake him out. Well,
but it would be fun.
So tell me what I'm kind of want to go back to Dwight Howard, but then you can also talk about yours too, Dan. What would Dwight really doing this? Bring to the Trailblazers? Like, would he be a good
terrible
fit?
Attitude? Like,
would he be a fit with the culture? Would he be a fit with the locker room? You know, Dan probably knows a little bit more, is more a little bit familiar with the locker room.
Are you guys playing devil's advocate?
I just want to know. I'm just asking questions because I want to know the answers.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you just whimper? That was awesome. That was what, you know what? Okay, wait, I have to interject a story here. When I was at the game last night against, I can't remember whoever it was they played, and they showed... Denver. That's right. They showed Damian in his street clothes, and I actually let out an audible sob. I was just like, no! And like everybody around looked at me, and I felt kind of embarrassed. But I was very upset. So I can feel you, Chris. I feel you when you're upset. Sometimes you got to work through it.
Let's get the objective viewpoint here. James, your thoughts first before Chris loses his mind.
I mean, I guess my point is like you'd get a legitimate double-double machine in the middle, and I get it's just counting stats. As long as his big issue has been he wants to post up. I think they've gotten away from that some in Charlotte. Like they got him out, they're trying to break him out of that habit. And hopefully you would think that, hey, you want to win, you're at the tail end of your career, just rebound and block shots, force to run the floor. And I mean, that's a huge upgrade from what Nurk is doing right now, right? Nurk has just been kind of flopping around out there.
Here's the thing. Stotts likes to post guys up, not frequently, but enough as a way to change where the point of attack comes from. So it's not always coming from the wing, or it's not always coming from a pick and roll, because Stotts' system was built around Dirk Nowitzki in the high and mid post. If you have a guy like Dwight, let's say you give Dwight 5-6 post-ups a game.
Oh my God, even if Dan.
Here's the thing. If you get Dwight to buy in, and I understand that's a stretch, but if you get him to buy in and say, hey, you'll get your touches down there, but you have to kick it out from time to time. And again, I know that's a stretch, but if you put on the tape of LaMarcus Aldridge, and show him how many post touches he got and how frequently he was left in one-on-one coverage.
I don't even know what to say. I don't even understand. Okay, look, all right, here's the bottom line.
The Blazers are posting up Nurkic right now, and he's scoring in the 13th percentile on the post-up. So Dan, what do they have to lose?
Dan, this is the last thing I'm going to say about Dwight, okay? If you think that Dwight is going to help the Blazers, you either haven't been watching the Hornets, which is fine. Watching the Hornets isn't great, or you don't understand how basketball works. It is one or the other.
That's not the first time someone said that to him tonight.
You either are like not good at critically analyzing the game of basketball and how it works, or you haven't been watching the Hornets and you don't know how detrimental Dwight Howard is when he's on the court. That's it.
See, this is like the people who say that DeMar DeRozan's an objectively bad player. You know what? I don't care what you're saying right now, because you can be flawed and still be a productive basketball player, and that's what Dwight is right now.
Yeah, you can, and Dwight's not that. He's bad. It's bad. He's awful. Let's move on.
He's the worst Hall of Fame 16 and 12 you'd ever get.
He is the worst. What is like? Oh my god, I'm so upset.
I think we hear where you stand on this one, Chris.
I can't do this anymore, please.
And again, I don't think this move puts Portland over the top,
what
but
about Marc Gasol?
It does change a lot of things. I'm full in on Gasol too.
DeAndre,
like I've wanted Gasol in Portland for years. DeAndre, in my opinion, would be a bad fit.
You
really?
Want Dwight Howard? Oh my god.
Well, hold on. Yeah,
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by DeAndre. Can you say what you think would be
the lack of offensive versatility?
So that's that's Dwight Howard too, though. So I don't get it.
Here's the thing. I think Dwight can at least create a little bit of a shot off his own, and even just not out of a straight post up. I'm just talking about just from the mid post, from the pinch post, a little bit of a face up dribble and put the ball on the floor. DeAndre, you don't even touch him. The Blazers can't afford to have another guy on the floor where everything has to be created for him. Here's the other thing.
Really?
Dame and CJ don't throw lobs. They don't throw lobs. So
that hurts.
You're taking DeAndre Jordan's probably most apt offensive skill and throwing it out the window.
So my thing with that is, though, have they ever had a guy like DeAndre throw a lob too? Because I can throw a lob. I'm not a good passer. I can throw a lob. DeAndre's going to catch it.
I know people will laugh. About Mason Plumlee, but Mason Plumlee, every year he's been in the league, has been one of the top dunkers in the league as far as total dunks each year.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the great hands. He doesn't have the great hands in the vertical spacing that DeAndre does. He just doesn't do it. That's
true. But Dame has tried in the past to throw lobs, and he just misses. It's really weird. Tara and I have talked about this before. Like there have been times where even Pat Connaughton has like called for like an uncontested lob, and Dame or CJ has just kind of looked him off like, nah.
Well, see, it's like you can't miss. You can't miss with DeAndre. You just throw it up in the ceiling somewhere. He's going to go get it.
Yeah,
he covers a lot of ground with those giant arms.
What about Hassan Whiteside? Hassan's a lot like DeAndre, except he can create a little bit.
I would be interested in Hassan. I was interested in Hassan when the Blazers tried to nab him 2 years ago. Like he's a black hole. He's an absolute black hole offensively.
Aren't you saying that you need someone who can like burn possessions, or are you implying that a Dwight Howard post up is a good offensive possession?
No, I'm saying that if you give the ball to Hassan Whiteside, it's absolutely not coming back out.
Yeah, but isn't that what you're saying? His assist rate
shows that. Like he's one of the absolute worst in like modern NBA history when that comes to
as opposed to Dwight Howard.
So I have a few.
There are levels to this.
There's two.
Hold on. You guys remember that Dwight Howard was the starting center on the team that made the finals because of his pick and roll threat and his vertical spacing?
Yeah, and you know what? Stephon Marbury's in China right now. He's a different player.
Okay, I have a few things that I believe to be true about Trailblazer trades. They aren't ever going to trade for somebody who I heard of prior to 2015, and they're not going to trade for somebody whose name has an H in it. So that would eliminate Hassan Whiteside and Dwight Howard, but that would leave DeAndre Jordan in the running for the ones that you've all discussed. That's been true so far.
No H names?
Because there's always like a whole list of like, what was last year? Dwight Howard, Hassan Whiteside, Al Horford. There's a whole bunch of guys, and they all had to H either in the beginning or the end, first name or last name. And I was like, none of those guys are coming. And did any of them come?
Was Harkless signed or traded for?
Harkless traded.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I hadn't heard of before 2015.
Top 55 protected second round pick.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
so
what
that
they
one did
traded for.
slip through, but I still hadn't heard of him prior to when we got him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately I think Portland's going to move at least Ed Davis because his contract's expiring. I think they're going to try and get something out of him. I love Ed too, but there's a lot that needs to happen for this team. So
Will it be for a pick? Will it be for the ability to get rid of another contract along with him?
I think
if you had to read the tea leaves.
If I had to read the tea leaves, I think they try to move him for a late first round pick or move him for a player coming off a rookie deal. The other team isn't interested in signing long term, so that they can be more flexible in their cap space. And the Portland would then have the rights to sign him, because as Nurkic keeps playing, I can hear the sound of his agent crying as his contract just loses $1 million each month. Because right now he's not getting that $21-22 million deal. Like right now he's on pace for like a $14, maybe $15 million deal if everything goes right the rest of the way.
See, I would think that the trade that the Blazers would make is to try to find another Harkless, except like one who could shoot, like a guy who can start alongside Aminu if it works out, of course, like a roll of the dice or whatever, that didn't cost a lot of assets and was sort of underappreciated in whatever market he was in right now. That's what I think would make some sense.
Yeah, I think that's the way that Portland and fans would like to see things go. The
what
problem
about, like,
in
Tyreek
my
Evans,
mind,
maybe
not enough of a shooter.
He's been.
Would you guys want to pry Tyson Chandler out of Phoenix?
What?
Not unless it came with something else.
Tyson Chandler. So I think Tyreek Evans. Do you guys hear my dogs?
Yes.
Okay.
They
All right.
sound
Well,
lovely.
I think like Tyreek Evans has shot really well from 3 years in a row, and I think that it's real. I think that he's a better shooter now.
Hey, Chris, mute your mic when your dog barking.
I was just about to, but I like Tyreek Evans has shot
now
well.
You're not going to?
Oh God. Okay. All right. Go ahead, guys. Let's talk about Dwight Howard.
Well, he's right. Tyreek would be a good.
If you could go back, you think so? I think Tyreek needs the ball more than Evan Turner does.
He has been amazing in Memphis.
Last year he shot also like 40% plus from 3.
I mean, if you could put me in a time machine and I could go back and make a trade happen on a buying low on a player, Tobias Harris. Harris would have been the guy to do last year. Because, I mean, right now, what he's doing in Detroit, 18 points a game on 43% from 3, taking 6 threes a game, the positional flexibility and versatility he gives you. And then that's the thing. If you look at all the guys that would fit Portland really well, Fournier is a bit of a weird fit. I think Gordon is a good fit. Aaron Gordon, that is. Chris Middleton, Tobias Harris. CJ Miles is probably a good one.
CJ Miles would have been great.
Right.
Yes, CJ Miles I think is a great player.
Hey, so why do you think Fournier would be a weird fit?
I'm not sold on him as a I'm not sold on him as a 3. Like his lack of physicality and athleticism at that position. I know we're in the age of positional flexibility and versatility, and there's no more 2, 3, 4. But to me, he screams, "I'm a 2, only a 2, and I will die a 2." Like that at least in my opinion. I like him as a player, but again, I think he's more. Now, if you were talking about like we mentioned earlier, like packaging up McCollum with some other players, and Fournier came with Gordon, where you could then theoretically run out Dame, Fournier, Aminu, Gordon. I think being bigger, longer, and more athletic at the 3 and 4, you could compensate just like you could if you were going to get like a bigger 3 to play along Dame and CJ. I think you could make that work if you had the flexibility. If you added somebody like Gordon alongside him at the 4, you bump Aminu down to the 3, then you can make things happen. But I mean, you go up and down the list, every one of these guys is locked up. Like the only one who's not locked up, it's probably on a rookie deal right now, is Sarge. Kuzma ain't going anywhere. Danny Green, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I wouldn't touch Wiggins.
Hey, don't even mention my guys. Don't even talk about Jaylen Brown. Don't even bring him up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I mean, you're not touching either of those guys. Kelly Oubre has been somebody that's kind of caught my eye for a while now, but I don't see Washington moving him anytime soon. So, yeah, I mean, you look at everybody who could possibly be in that neighborhood, and they're either guys who just got paid.
Hey, what about OG Anunoby?
I hate you. Yeah,
We've come full circle.
Yeah, exactly. For everybody that doesn't know, I mean, OG and Donovan Mitchell were the two guys that I was screaming about leading into the draft. Those are the two guys that I pegged over and over and over. They were on the board,
though. You couldn't have picked them. Like, the opportunity was, oh, wait, no, they were on the board.
They were both on the board. Yeah, that's the problem. But I mean, you look up and down this list, and they're either guys that are under max contracts, guys about to be max contracts, or guys on rookie deals that teams are not willing to part with unless it's CJ. So I mean, that's the conundrum.
Thaddeus Young has been an interesting option for a while now.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
2 or 3 years ago, you might have been able to talk me into that.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't see that as the right fit. Like, if you wanted to get somebody that was quote unquote on Dame's timeline, Tobias Harris, Chris Middleton, probably the guys that I would go to first, because I don't think you can get a Paul George in any way, shape, matter, or form. Maybe you had a chance at Covington a year ago, obviously not now, but beyond that, like, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? And we'll kind of wrap on this.
Hey. Josh Eustace will be available next year.
Hey, what about Dwight Howard, guys? Can he play the 3?
We'll play the power forward and move Aminu down to the 3.
So my original question was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think it is that the Blazers are going to make a move, and how big of a move do you think it was going to be? So I would love to return back to that and find out if there's a lot of names going out there, but what are the likelihood, Dan says. And do you think it's going to be a big splashy one, or it's going to be like a 4 or 5?
It's going to be moving the expiring contracts. So it'll be the Vonleys, the Davises. They could now. The caveat to this is you could see those guys attached to add value to CJ going out. But unless things go completely sideways and somebody loses their job, I don't think CJ gets moved.
So high likelihood. Low to middle impact, or player range, I guess. Okay, how about you, James?
I say 9 that it'll make a move, and it's going to be a big splashy move.
Oh, wow!
I think that all the
Dwight's
there's some maybe not even Dwight. I think they might even be able to do better.
I think it's a small move that they hope ends up being big.
So we have a high likelihood from all of you, and then a small, medium, and large splash, one for each of you. Mm-hmm. So hard to tell what's going to happen.
Which means in all reality, they don't make any moves whatsoever, and they stand pat.
How would you feel seriously about a move for like a Josh Eustace or a Jeremy Grant this year?
The return in the long run's probably worth it, depending on what you're looking at. What's going out. But again, I think that as nice as those players are, though, and this is probably why it makes the most sense that it would happen, these are the lateral moves. I mean, it's no secret that we've talked about this a billion times, that I don't think lateral moves are going to get this team out of the position they're currently in, and that in order to make big time gains, they need to swing for the fences on a move. So now adding those players, if they can do so without hurting the core and by moving some bad contracts, if by some magic that you find a GM out there who has a Billy King moment, great, grand, awesome, make it happen. But I don't think that Portland's in a position of strength to make a move that really matters in the long run right now without giving up a lot.
Very true.
I'm still upset about Dwight Howard.
You have to go meditate for a little while. Go have a little quiet time.
I got to go find my happy place. So, all right. Well, so I guess you've been listening to Blazers Edge and or BOD Pod.
Yeah, why don't everybody say where they can be found on the various social media channels that they prefer?
Okay. I'm James Holas. You can find me on Twitter at SnottyDrippin. Homage to the great Scottie Pippen. And
who are you writing for these days, Scotty? Or Scotty? I called you Scotty.
Yeah.
Who are you writing for these days, James?
You can find me B-Ball Breakdown. I've been slack. I've been writing B-Ball Breakdown and Real Ball Insiders. And I think soon you'll see me somewhere that might surprise you guys. I'm teasing it in the next week. Yeah.
Are you going to become a big TV star too?
No, I'm too. I got a face made for radio. So did Dan too. So I don't know how that works.
Didn't stop me, buddy. Didn't stop me.
Yeah.
And you can also hear him on Dunk Tales, which by the time this is released will be up. Him and Joe Borelli from the Superflight Pod. You can find that on almightyballer.com, where you can also find new episodes of Blazers Edge, which we are proud to have representing the Blazers for us over at the network. And you can also find Almighty Ballin' NBA show, and you can find BOD Pod, which you may or may not be listening to already. So thank you for subscribing and checking us out.
Jared, go ahead and let them know where they can find you.
I am at TCB Biggs on Twitter. I also co-host the What podcast, the Women's Hoops and Talks, which can be found in this very feed on Almighty Baller. We're still part of Blazers Edge. It's a new podcast that we're having a really good time with, talking to women in basketball. And thanks for letting me be on the BOD Pod. I'm so excited that I got to be on. Thank you for having me.
You deserve it.
I told you we'd make it happen.
What?
All right. I said I told you we make it happen.
Oh,
Just gotta make it. Just gotta make it happen. You know.
I've been whining all week because he's a big TV star and I'm nobody. So he was like, "I'll make this happen for you."
Okay. I got to make some phone calls. That's how it goes. You can find me on Twitter, the persona of Danny Meringue. Now I'm going third person, at D Meringue. You can also find me on non-game nights on Facebook for the Blazers Outsiders. And I don't care if this is the BOD Pod Blazers Edge crossover episode, but we're going to mention Blazers Edge night because it's huge and it's coming up. It's the holidays. And this is the big push. So all the information will be on the blazersedge.com page for the podcast, where you can donate tickets from $9 to $13 for underprivileged youth and adolescents who don't get a chance to go to a Blazers game. And it's an awesome event that we're going to be sending 2,000 people to this year. So literally 10% of the Moda Center will be filled up with Blazers Edge Night people.
Very cool.
And get them an opportunity, a chance to go ahead and check that out. So if you can, during this holiday season, buy a ticket, donate. It's tax deductible, so you got a few more. You got a week at least now before the end of the year, if that's your reasoning. Good, great, grand, awesome. You can also buy some Blazers Edge socks, which are absolutely awesome. I wear mine all the time. I've got a couple pair, and they have become my lucky socks that I don't wear on game nights because I don't want to hex them.
I just got my new ones. They have different ones this year, and I just got my new ones in the mail. Very exciting. So, very excited to wear them.
They are awesome. Again, for Tara, for Dan, I'm for Dan. I'm really going third person.
You're really going all in on the third person.
Oh, man. So for Tara, for me, for James and Chris, for the Blazers Edge podcast and the BOD Pod, thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.
I hate Dwight Howard.
I'm leaving that in there.